Hello, my name is David. This channel is all about helping you express yourself better on the guitar. We're going to talk about practice today. And this all started with an email that I received recently. I recently got this email from an old student of mine, very discouraged. He told me that he felt like giving up the guitar. He's been playing for a long time. My student is in his 60s, late 60s now. He's retired and he's got a lot of time on his hands to practice, yet he just cannot move on to the next level, if you will. He just feels stuck in a rut. Anytime he picks up the guitar, he ends up just kind of noodling around. His fingers are not really responding to what he wants them to do. And the interesting thing is that my student had been playing for decades. He picked up the guitar in his teens. Like I said, he's in late 60s and still feels stuck. So I called him and we had this conversation on practice. And I asked him, tell me all about your practice. When do you practice? How do you practice? What happens when you practice? And my student told me, well, I've got a lot of free time. And usually I'll pick up the guitar in the afternoon. I'll jam over a few backing tracks, play over lessons that I'm watching from you and just kind of jam along and noodle. And in the end, I knew why he's not getting better. The problem is that my student didn't know how to practice. And then I realized that was me for years. And it's my fault if my students don't know how to practice because I never taught them how to practice. As a matter of fact, I think most players do not know how to practice. In order to change that, it starts with 3 essential components that you need to have with every practice. So the first thing is probably the most important thing. You need to have a reason to practice. That reason is going to come in form of a question. You need to have a question, a curiosity on something that you want to achieve or express that you're not quite able to. And that's going to generate a bunch of different questions. Your practices should be based around those questions. So for example, you might be wondering why one of the licks that you just recently learned by watching a video, say you've got a cool blues lick that you learned, just doesn't sound quite right. You've got the right notes, you've got the right tempo, yet it doesn't sound as cool as you heard. That may be an area of interest. Or maybe you're wondering, how can I get out of the box playing in the minor pentatonic scale over and over? And how come this guy still plays in the minor pentatonic scale, but sounds a little more refined, a little cooler? What's going on? It's got to start with a question. Curiosity is something you want to fix. I keep a journal with me. This is a practice journal, and I write down all the different questions or areas of interest I might have. And whenever I need to practice, I will go through this, read it, and see what sticks out and build a practice plan around this. But it always starts with a question, an area of focus. My second tip is to actually use paper and pen when you're practicing. Write down things. These are empty diagrams that I use all the time whenever I make a discovery or if I have, say, a question and a theory that I want to test out, I will plan it out before I actually play. The act of writing things down, this is an example here where I mapped out some different ideas. Doing this with the pen is going to force your brain to think a little bit differently. It's a lot different than just memorizing scales on the fretboard. You're going to remember things a lot better and you're going to start to see some connections if you actually do this work. So yes, always have something to write with. I know it's kind of old school, but it really does work. And then my third tip is something that people are not going to tell you, but I will tell you. When you're learning a new piece of music, whether it's a lick, a chord, or even a concept, a scale, don't try to play it exactly the way that it's being taught. I know, what? What is he talking about? Well, the reason is use your ears. Use your ears when you're trying to play something. If I'm showing you a lick, let's do something like this, for example. This would be very, very difficult to play exactly the way I played. And I'm saying exactly. Yes, you can figure out the notes, but having exactly the intonation, the volume, the spacing in the notes is going to be very difficult because what I played here wasn't really planned. I didn't rehearse this. I just played it. So my tip is to learn something, and I'll teach you this one right here. So we're in A minor pentatonic here. I'm starting on the 4th string, 5th fret, and then 7th fret, and then skip the next string to the 2nd string, 5th fret, play it twice, and then 3rd string, fret 7, 4th string, fret 7, and then 3rd string 7, bend it, and then end on that 7th fret. So something like that. Make it your own. Play it several times. Try to put yourself in the shoes of different characters. Maybe you're very tired. Maybe you're kind of hyper. Maybe you're nervous. I know I kind of messed up that last note. It's because I haven't done a video in a month and a half. More on that later, but that's really what will help you, I think. Take a lick, take an idea. Don't try to play it exactly the way that he plays it or I play it or whatever. Play it the way you want to play it and use your ears to direct you. That will really help your practice sessions. So these 3 things are essential, I think, in any practice sessions. And they're kind of intuitive, really. But ask yourselves questions. Before you play guitar, you need to have a focus. The second thing is use a pen and a paper to write down your discoveries. And then finally, don't play any idea exactly the way that is played, unless maybe your goal is to play exactly like, I don't know, Jeff Beck or whatever. But there's only one. Why would you replace him? The world needs more of you. That's what I have for you today. Those 3 things. Very, very important. Keep an eye out for the next video in which we're actually going to practice this together. I'm going to show you what my practice session looks like. You'll be able to dive in, play with me, and it's going to be a lot more clearer. So keep an eye out for the next video. Subscribe so that you don't miss anything, and I will meet you right here. Thanks for watching.